Alright, it's time for me to show you guys my mobile crane 60324 and how I expanded it and really beefed it up. This thing can lift. Greetings, my fellow bushy blobs of subatomic building blocks. Name's Hans, father of the plants, porter of keel bricks, and as always, berserk for Legos. And for those of you with really short attention spans and just love to ignore everything I'm saying and skip ahead, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video because I've got a lot more action sequences of this mobile crane lifting some super heavy stuff. Alright, 60324 mobile crane. It just came out at the beginning of this year. I'm a little late to the party. It was one of the January 1st releases, and I think this was one of the best sets in that January 1st release. This is an awesome crane, super awesome. They did a really great job of this. I gotta say bravo to the Lego designer on this one. A lot of clever techniques too. I liked how they used this guy as part of the crane boom. I also liked how they extended the crane boom, and the use of this piece right here was pretty clever to help reinforce it. And then also using a Technic linear actuator. That was awesome. In fact, as soon as I noticed this, then my Cargo Master crane added this in there, which wasn't easy because Cargo Master crane is a lot more compact of a crane and didn't have much room to fit this in there, but I managed to get it to fit. Yeah, this was a great idea. I will say with this linear actuator, it's not super strong. I've actually damaged 3 of them already. When you load these things down, if you exceed its capabilities, something inside there will get kind of permanently damaged, and then it won't be able to lift quite as much anymore. It'll just keep clicking. So just a side note, don't overload these things. And speaking of my Cargo Master crane, if you haven't seen it, you can definitely go watch the video on that one after this one. And I've actually already upgraded my Cargo Master crane. The thing is that the Cargo Master crane represents a smaller crane than what this is. And yet my Cargo Master crane has a much taller crane boom than what was originally on this crane. This thing is just itty bitty. So this crane boom was first developed in the 80s, and then this particular piece was kind of redesigned, I think, in the 2000s. It's already outdated, it's kind of too small for the crane uses. And that's one of the first things I noticed with this crane was that the boom itself was just way too small for what this crane is. The other thing too is that on my Cargo Master crane, I have a triple boom extension. It's a much taller crane, even though my Cargo Master crane represents a much more compact style of crane. So I knew right away I needed to upgrade. I needed it to have a boom that was much taller than my Cargo Master crane. So I can't show you my Cargo Master crane because I've already upgraded it, and so I'm planning on doing a video on that eventually. But I went and measured it. This is the height that my Cargo Master crane boom can reach. Already that's a lot taller than what came standard. So that's it. I needed this to be taller than my Cargo Master crane. The Cargo Master crane is super tall. This one needed to be even taller because this is a much bigger crane. Alright, so let me show you all the super impressive features of my crane. So the first thing to notice is I made the crane longer. It is an additional 4 bricks right here in the very middle. That's where I got a nice cabinet in there. Now I've got the tires reversed so that the hollow side of the tires are showing. I like to do that with these particular tires. All my builds are designed for the future in the year 2060 because my Lego city is set in the future in the year 2060. So a lot of futuristic technology is happening. And in the future, tires don't have air anymore. They've got tire technology where air in the tires aren't required. They've got these structural ribs inside the tires that help support it, but also give it the flexibility that it needs, even for something that weighs as massive as this one. And then the other thing too is that all my vehicles in the future are autonomous driving, can be fully driven and operated. They can drive by themselves. My Lego city has autonomous roadways. They all drive on the autonomous roadways, and so all the vehicles are controlled by onboard computers as well as metropolitan-wide traffic management. So this right here is the radar and the LiDAR and the cameras and the 6G vehicle-to-vehicle communications. Over here, the cabinet is a much bigger one. So just like on my coach bus, it's completely hollow in there and you can fit much bigger items in there. But on the other side, I've got the smaller cabinet for slightly smaller items. I also went ahead and fixed this feature right here. I really liked how they used the curved element. I liked how the orange just kind of seamlessly flowed and then dipped down right there. But it did look a little bit off. Like, I like the idea of it, but I think just the pieces, the way the pieces kind of came together right there didn't look good. And then also there was that hollow spot right inside of there. So I wanted to fix that. I got my transparent neon yellow headlights as part of my futuristic upgrades. Boom. Might be a little hard to see because of the shadows, but there's a 2x2 touchscreen monitor for controlling the vehicle. Now the turret got a major upgrade, completely rebuilt, solid, super solid, and As far as the crane control cabin, I went in and added some digital controls right there for controlling the crane. It's almost like a game controller. Now I built this crane and I've tested it and I've been able to lift some really heavy things that I didn't think would even be possible. I kept seeing where it would fail and then I kept strengthening it and making it stronger and stronger. Now I'm like blown away. The last thing that I tested it on, I'm surprised it even lifted. I needed to make these outriggers to pull out a lot further, so I redesigned them. So now these outriggers extend outwards by an additional 2 bricks. Alright, so original outriggers that came with the crane, they were 8 studs long. You just pull them out right there, and it would come to a stop right here. So it was only supporting the crane 5 studs out from the side of the vehicle. So I wanted to make that longer, and that pretty much meant that I would have to have an outrigger that went all the way to the opposite side, which means I would lose this piece right there. So I decided to design it like so, and the only problem with that was as soon as I went to test it out, I realized it didn't have any stability this way. That's when I started looking at a sideways build technique. And so far it's working out pretty good. I like the fact that with this bar clip setup, with that when it goes vertical, it actually has a slight angle inwards. So it's nice and stable. The only issue is that sometimes this guy will pop off like that. But so far that's the best I can come up with because there's a lot of constraints as far as getting it to slide in and out and being able to fit with only 2 studs worth of space in there. And then I completely lost the ability to prevent it from just kind of sliding and falling out. I'll give this guy a little slight twist to it so that it can't come out. And then when I need it, I'll just kind of straighten it back. And they can't come out at all, so. Alright, so like I said, these linear actuators aren't that strong and they fail pretty quickly. So I definitely needed to upgrade to the Technic bigger actuator. And this guy is impressive. It's never failed on me yet. I've never taken one of these apart, so I don't know what the internal mechanics are, but I put this thing under some seriously heavy loads. Alright, so triple boom extension. This is an upgraded and enhanced design. This is even more superior to the one I came out with in my original Cargo Master crane. And I redeveloped this when I was upgrading my Cargo Master crane, and then naturally I just used it on this crane as well. So this thing is super duper strong, and I have not seen it flex or tweak or crack or creak whatsoever. It is very well put together, which I'm really happy because building a hollow structure like that. Now for my Cargo Master crane, it's a much more compact crane, and I wanted to create this crane boom as compact as possible. LEGO does have one option. This is a crane boom piece that they came out with in the early 2000s, and it works for something that is only 2 bricks wide. These boom pieces would work great for this particular crane because it's the right size, right? But it would not work for my Cargo Master crane. The thing is that these Technic flanges are 4 bricks wide, and it would just be way too big for my Cargo Master crane. So that's what got me to design and develop this particular boom. LEGO's only made these in I think 2 or 3 sets, and they only come in orange from that Exo-Force set, and they also come in yellow for the construction sets in the 2000s. But yeah, this thing is ridiculously solid. It does not. One of the failure points that happens a lot when I'm designing these cranes is this connection point right there, and luckily I was able to just use this 2x4 tile right there to lock it in place. Now it doesn't go anywhere. I've got a couple of these gold ingot tiles, and that's for when it slots in nicely right up here. And it just drops right in place. Alright, so for the boom extensions, pretty much works the same way as my Cargo Master crane, but in this time I made it even longer. Now on my original Cargo Master crane, on the earlier design of this, these things were like a perfect fit. They slid in nicely. But here, this is 5 plates tall, right? 3 for the brick and then the extra 2 plates. But there's still an extra bit of room up there at the top. It's just about a half a plate's worth. So I ended up developing this guy right here. And what it does is it helps to, the bracket right there, gives me that extra bit of spacer to have a perfect fit right there. But it also helps to sandwich this piece together. Completes the entire accessory. So when I get the crane set up, I just fit it in like that. And when I don't need it, I just pull this off, and I've got a little storage compartment right there. Here you can see the little storage compartment right behind the cab. pull it out. There's a nice little storage compartment right there. So pop it in, take it out, go ahead and attach it, and put it in place. And then for this guy fails quite a lot. With too much force, it'll just start slipping down inside. And that's where this guy comes into play. So I just pop that in there. And that's what helps prevent it from falling down. Now the other failure point is actually right there. Under extreme loads, this will actually pop right out. Alright, now for the turret. This thing is heavy duty. The one that comes on the original set is pretty lightweight and hollow. The crazy thing is that when this thing gets a lot of weight, what it'll do is it'll start separating all the bricks and then it'll just kind of snap off. So one thing that I did was I reinforced it in the back. So I've got these angle brackets right here that are locking it down through the use of this back plate right there. And guess what? I've got 2 Lego weights embedded into the back of this turret. Not 1, but 2. Yeah, so this crane is pretty heavy. So that's 2 of these guys right there. And then for extra heavy loads, I've got this weight extension. So we just attach that up there, like so. So it just hooks on the back, right there. And we just attach those on like that. Now this is pretty common in real life. Cranes will come with additional weights that get mounted onto the back. So that's pretty typical. A lot of these weights will arrive on a separate truck, and then a forklift will kind of load up the weights onto the crane. So here's my little forklift. In fact, I've even got the forklift beefed up with its own Lego weight. So so there's my weight, and then I can just kind of drive that on back, slide the weight on there, snap it down, and there's my weights. So now you're looking at a crane that's got a total of 4 weights in there. Alright, and then for the crane winch, I went ahead and added a ratcheting mechanism right there so that the winch can't be reversed, and that's necessary for the extremely heavy weight that this crane has to lift. There is no friction pins that would really help it. It was also pretty hard to get enough space in here to add this winch. The other thing too is that when this crane boom is all the way up, it actually will kind of get in the way of the ratcheting mechanism. And the thing is that when I'm lifting super heavy loads, I need this boom upright as possible. A lot of times I'll have it sitting right on top of that ratcheting. What I'll do is I'll preload the crane. I'll start to lift a heavy object until a lot of forces are on the boom, and then what it'll do is it'll kind of lift it up off of the ratcheting mechanism right there. I also upgraded these to the bigger gears. One, it allows me to apply more force with my fingers, so the smaller the gear, the harder I have to work, or the less force I'm able to input into the system. And that comes from physics, where it's force times distance. So the larger the radius, the greater the distance, the more force gets amplified into the system. One other thing that I really like about this original crane was the use of that large conical gear in there. If you were to use the smaller conical gear, it would take a lot longer to raise and lower this. So when they used that bigger one, I thought that was really awesome. Good job, Lego designers. Yeah. I got my futuristic autonomous sensor right there. So this crane has autonomous capability, so you could probably tell it to go lift and load a bunch of stuff and it'll do it all by itself. No operator needed, or it could be operated remotely. This crane operator could be chilling at home in his pajamas, you know, just accessing this crane through the 6G wireless network, controlling it completely remotely, and, you know, with the assistance of machine learning AI algorithms. So that's what this little robotic sensor is. We got some lights to illuminate. This guy failed on me twice, and the first time it failed was right up here. The forces would end up scrunching these 2 plates, and then this would pop apart. So what I've done here is I've just got a bar running through the middle of it, and then I've got the rope tied around the bar. Down here, I then had to upgrade this ball joint to the much stronger ball receiver. This is the much more stiffer joint instead of the toe hitch. And the toe hitches are pretty strong, but the weight that I'm lifting was exceeding that. So that failed on me like 3 or 4 times. So I was like, all right, I gotta upgrade this. And I kind of like it. I kind of like the fact that it's a lot more stiffer. With the weights that I'm lifting, it'll pull it straight. All right, so just like how I'm using this back as a reinforcement between 2 angle brackets, 1 angle bracket here and here, I've also got a strap that's on the inside right there. I've got a 1x3 tile that is linking 2 Technic bricks together to keep that from splitting apart. So far, this has been doing fantastic now. A lot of these upgrades I ended up doing just last night because I was doing more extreme lifting and testing. It was starting to fail in ways that I hadn't seen before, so that's when I added the straps. You might be able to see it just on the inside. It's like right in there. It's black, so it's kind of hard to see. Okay, and this string. This is a new string that LEGO came out with a couple years ago, either last year or the year before, for the Technic tow truck. I'm really liking this heavy-duty string. Now, the major drawback to this is that because I've extended the boom so long, this string isn't long enough. So I don't even have the crane boom all the way up. This is already at its maximum limit. So I haven't looked to see if the string on the Technic tow truck, the white and orange one, if it's a much longer string, because I need to upgrade the string. This is too short. It doesn't even reach the ground. Another thing that I had to do was I had to reinforce the ends of the chains for lifting heavy loads. So I'm just using a couple of these plates. If I was to attach the chain with just a single stud, sometimes it'll pop off and drop the load. So by upgrading it this way, I can now lock onto my load with double the studs. I also upgraded 2 pulleys here. The crane did not come with a pulley, it came with a little Technic clip right at the end, and the string just kind of ran through it. But I've upgraded this to 2 pulleys that actually spin. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys some action sequences, and now you're going to see a series of loads that it's going to lift. Previously, when I was doing my tower crane, one of the heaviest loads was my garbage truck. But we're going to skip the garbage truck, and we're going to test out the excavator. Excavator actually has a LEGO weight embedded in it as well, and it is pretty darn heavy. Let's begin! Alright, well that was a success. But you know what's even heavier than my excavator? My new coach bus. Yeah, the new coach bus is a bit heavier, not by much, but it is a bit heavier. So here we go. Alright, no problem at all. But you know what? I think there's something even heavier than my coach bus. And I've been developing a rotator wrecker. That's where I got some insights on some of those trucks. But in one of their videos, there was a train derailment. They had to bring in a crane to lift up the wrecked train cars. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to see if we can lift a car from my new express passenger train. And that thing is really darn heavy. Dun, dun, dun. It is 8 studs wide, and I don't know, I think it's 42 studs long. Don't quote me on that. And to help out, we're going to add some weights, because this crane will definitely fall over. The Outriggers are just not quite enough. Alright, that was a success. Yes. And if you notice that the crane boom is really bending and flexing, like it's almost scary. It's like sometimes I have to hold my hand up there, but just in case it fails, because when it fails, the whole thing goes flying backwards. So I have to be ready to catch it. Alright, but I've got one thing that's even heavier than the passenger car on the express train. And that is the express train engine. That thing is really heavy. It's got batteries, it's got the motor in it, and it's a solid, dense build. And it's even heavier than the train passenger car by a significant amount. So let's see if my crane can lift that train engine. Dun dun dun. express train engine. Now I don't have those small scales for weighing things, you know, like the ones you use in the kitchen to weigh food stuff. I don't know what the difference in the weight is between the excavator, the coach bus, the express passenger car, and the express train engine. But I do know that the express train engine is ridiculously heavy. Hey, so fun fact, when I was a kid, back in the late 80s, one of my Christmas presents was those big Tonka trucks, and it was the crane version. My brother ended up with the dump truck. Everybody gets the dump truck, but I got the crane version. And I had a blast, like absolutely testing limits of that poor Tonka truck. And I would lift heavy rocks, probably about the size of adult human head. And then one time it failed, it buckled right at the joint because the boom would fold. And it had a folding boom, but you would unfold it. One time I lifted a rock a little too heavy and the sheet metal at the hinge joint just completely flexed and collapsed. So testing cranes to their absolute limit has been a standard MO of mine for quite a long time. I just find it absolutely fascinating to put things to the extreme engineering. And I gotta say, I'm super impressed with my upgrades of this mobile crane. It is mega strong and it can really lift some heavy stuff. And as you can see with the train engine, I had to add an additional 2 weights on top of the 2 weights that are already built into the turret, on top of the 2 weights that are added as an extension. So in order to lift that train engine, it took a total of 6 of these. And this guy right here was my super reinforcement for this joint up there. So like I said before, this joint has a tendency to pop out. This Technic brick right here kind of latches onto the top up here, prevents it from falling out. This was something I had to develop just last night when I was lifting the train engine for the first time. If you like my mobile crane, if you like all the upgrades I did and the super ridiculously heavy stuff that it lifted, this video definitely deserves a like. And if you're not subscribed, if you're new to my channel, I've got tons of stuff that you can go watch. I've got a tower crane, I've got Paradisa Lego City Set the Future Year 2060. Go watch that stuff. And on that note, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. See you next time.